As you all can see, the ball has stopped halfway to its perch. It's suspended there to remind us before we pop the champagne and celebrate the new year to stop and reflect on the year that has gone by.
The year's winding down, folks. Christmas has come and gone, and any minute now, baby New Year will rear his ugly head. And what a year it was, one of the best in video game history. So here's to 2014, a perfect year for video games. Yeah, fucking right. "2014 has the unique honor of making 2013's generally sparse lineup look like the second coming of creativity. It's not like the games were bad, they were just... But I'm not an unamusable jerk-off. I did have fun playing video games this year. Some of them came out this year, some of them didn't. I'm gonna talk about it all, baby. Broken Age, Act 1. $3.3 million! Blah blah, Tim Schafer, SJW. Not interested. But I really enjoyed Broken Age Act 1. It was gorgeous. Not exactly a challenging adventure game, but it's got one or two of those warm, fuzzy, I did something smart moments. The voice acting was great. Elijah Wood and Messiah Moyo have a kind of earnestness to their voices, lots of heart to be had. Now, Tim Schafer deserves to get called to the mat for the crazy long delay between Acts 1 and 2, and he deserves to get chewed out for mismanaging all that money. But more than anything, he deserves a big ol' pat on the back. The Wolf Among Us. Back when the prospect of Minecraft Story Mode was only a hypothetical nightmare, Telltale commanded respect. Coming down from their success with The Walking Dead Season 1, the studio was tapped to adapt the comic series Fables into an adventure game. The result is The Wolf Among Us, and it's the most beautiful thing Telltale's ever made. There's plenty of color to go around, the contrast is cranked up to 11, really awesome style. A cool crime noir mystery anchors the story, and it's interesting the whole way through, but it's really your ticket to the main event, seeing just how fucked up a few years of urban living made your favorite fairy tale characters. Grandma never told me the part of the story where the monkey from Oz drinks himself silly. Dark Souls 2. I don't think there's a person alive by this point who hasn't either said or heard that Dark Souls 2 isn't as good as Dark Souls 1. But here I go saying it again. I enjoyed my several playthroughs of the main game. I sunk a lot of time into the PvP, and I thought the DLC did a lot of cool stuff. It's a darn good game, but Dark Souls 1 wasn't good, it was sensational. The second is inferior in such a breadth and depth of ways that drawing comparisons between them is just draining. And then you have From Software announcing a re-release of the game, Scholar of the First Sin they're calling it. It improves the visuals, adds 6-player online play, a couple new NPCs, and cleans up some item descriptions. It's also going to require that PC players repurchase the game if they want most of that stuff. I've seen a few fans already popping boners over this cash grab online. Please keep it in your pants. Not your dick, your wallet. You can leave your dick hanging out though. If this kind of business practice gets you going, then by all means keep your junk right where I can see it. I don't know how or if we can save this era of video games, but maybe, just maybe, amputating that pecker might make the next generation just a little bit brighter. Transistor. Short, but very sweet. I loved Bastion to death, and there's still no doubt in my mind that Transistor is the better game. The world is just drenched in color and life, which makes it even more fascinating to watch it assimilated into white nothing by the rogue technological process. The setting's backstory was more concrete than Bastion's crypticisms, but still plenty mysterious enough to keep me wondering. Its silent protagonist had a discernible, interesting personality, and the Transistor character voiced by Logan Cunningham was right at home as both the narrator and your weapon. Each trace of a dead person's soul can serve as an active attack, an enhancement to an attack, or a passive skill. The amount of variety on display is staggering, and it helps the gameplay straddle the line between action and strategy brilliantly. And do I even need to mention the soundtrack? I do, because no amount of praise is enough. This is one of the finest scores ever composed for a computer game. Darren Korb is a master at what he does. The Walking Dead Season 2. The creative spark and the visual flair of The Wolf Among Us must have all been siphoned off of Clementine's 5-parter, because Season 2 is dull, chock full of stupid shit, and falls way short of its predecessor's legacy. That said, it's not terrible, or even bad really. On the net, I'd say it was a positive experience, but that's not exactly glowing praise. Flimsy's critique of Season 2 is pretty on point at identifying the ways that the series lost its head this time around. And since I'm already shilling, Skippy Sigmatic of A Bad Feeling and some other YouTube guy whose name escapes me made a podcast and website called Push to Shout. If you're interested in what this individual thinks about games and other stuff, or just want to listen to him shoot the shit with Skippy, check out pushtoshout.net. This person is very proud of the show and thinks you'll enjoy listening and watching. So,
congratulations, you won!
Now before we get back to brass tacks, I'd like to take a moment to discuss a certain thing that surfaced in the fall of this year. I think we all know what it is I'm talking about. I hesitate to use its name because it leaves such a bad taste in my mouth. I've spoken about it at length already on Twitter as well as on the podcast, but it bears repeating. Its continued existence debases every gamer, young and old, man or woman. I'm talking, of course, about Lords of the Fallen. A shameless derivative of Dark Souls that copies everything but the good bits, Lords of the Fallen bills itself as a heftier variety of what VaatiVidya coined a Souls-like game, but what's meant to be weighty and realistic just feels slow and unresponsive. The boss fights are an embarrassment. I recall the second boss fight in the game, maybe half a dozen times in that fight, the boss just becomes invincible and sits still, and one or two easy mooks stumble into the arena just to waste your fucking time. He also has an attack that makes projectiles rain from the sky in quite literally a random pattern. Of course, because the game is realistic and weighty, you can't avoid these projectiles with a dodge roll. They come from above and can't be blocked with a shield. The camera controls ensure you can't look up far enough to see him coming in time to strafe, so when that attack gets used, the name of the game is run around aimlessly and pray you don't get got. On 4 separate occasions, the boss's animations froze entirely while the boss battle continued. After an indeterminate interval, the boss would spaz out, and I'd be knocked on my ass with a chunk of my health gone, even from across the arena. I know it's just one example, but the whole game is full of brain-boggling bullshit like this. You have to trust me on this. This game is a stinker through and through. Or, you could not trust me and buy it yourself if you want. Some people, for some reason, really don't think this is a bad game. Go ahead, I won't stop you. But
you'll get no sympathy from me
if you end up not liking it. Don't worry, I'm no tease. I've already talked quite a bit about it on Twitter and during the first few episodes of the Push to Shout podcast, but GamerGate happened in 2014, and now I have a few things to say. GamerGate's been around for several months now, and its age is starting to show. Over time, scandals like Zoe Quinn, GameJourno Pros, and the like have slowed down, and the posts, threads, and exchanges I read get increasingly bogged down by rhetorical minutia. What's the functional difference between a movement and a consumer revolt? Why does it matter? When did knowing what tone policing or concern trolling mean become important? Consumers need to stay vigilant of anti-consumer behavior because there's a lot of it. The more watchful eyes, the better. When being a part of that vigilance requires you to learn a whole lexicon of circle jerk vocabulary, you have yourself a problem. On the note of talking to one another like actual human beings, acknowledge that you probably don't know a person's motives as well as they do. Besides being a terrible meme, the classic, "actually it's about ethics in games journalism," is an insistence that no, you don't actually care about that thing. This is what you're about instead. I know your thoughts better than you do. It's a quick way to wave the hand and dismiss folks outright, and it's an even quicker way to piss people off. Finally, don't be afraid to have a real opinion. There's nothing wrong with not being interested or having a mixed set of thoughts, but there are few things more annoying with GamerGate and in general than people acting above an issue by handing down a haughty non-opinion. It's the effortless, "there are problems with both sides, the whole thing's just bullshit anyway." It's an easy way to feign discernment and cast off the burden of crystallizing an informed opinion. It's also okay not to qualify which camp you're not in with a dissertation's amount of hand-waving and placations. Just talk. Be people.
Wah! GamerGate isn't video games!
Okay, alright, back to video games. Rhythm Heaven and Rhythm Doctor. This summer I discovered the Rhythm Heaven series as well as a little indie game inspired by it called Rhythm Doctor. I'm in love with each one of these games. Rhythm Heaven has iterations on the Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and Wii, while Rhythm Doctor is played in the browser. I've perfected every song in each game. I absolutely cannot get enough. Charming minigames, sensational music, and a demanding timing window that rewards rhythm over reflex make Rhythm Heaven and Rhythm Doctor truly exceptional, the rawest kind of monkey brain joy you can find in video games. Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. Ni no Kuni is a treasure. It's a traditional JRPG that sprung from a collaboration between Level 5 of Professor Layton fame and the world-renowned Studio Ghibli. Ghibli created the game's gorgeous hand-drawn cutscenes, and the entire experience is soaked in that magical aesthetic. The combat system is complex and rewarding, playing out like a sort of real-time Pokemon game in which you serenade and raise familiars to fight alongside Oliver and his party. Joe Hisaishi, longtime musical collaborator of Hayao Miyazaki, composed the score for the game, and God does it show. Ni no Kuni is blessed with, without reservation, my favorite soundtrack in any video game. The world is massive and beautiful. Sometimes I just wander around the map aimlessly looking at stuff while that perfect overworld music plays. I haven't felt wonder like this from a game since playing Ocarina of Time as a little kid. It's that good. It's all tied together by a simple, touching story that knows how to tickle your funny bone and tear up your heart equally well. Ni no Kuni absolutely cannot be missed. Distance. This little indie racer just came out in December and it's sorely underappreciated. It exists somewhere at the intersection of F-Zero, Kirby Air Ride, and Tron. Your car barrels through an infected cyber hell at Mach speed as you flip from the floor to the ceiling or walls and jet across gaps and find shortcuts with a glider. The soundtrack's kickin', the presentation's awesome, and the controls are tight as a tick. If careening through a digital apocalypse at insane speed sounds fun to you, Distance won't disappoint. Telltale's Game of Thrones. Where The Wolf Among Us had an interesting art style and The Walking Dead Season 2 was bland, this Telltale game is actively ugly. I'm sorry fellas, but this doesn't look painterly, it just looks like smeary, shimmery ass. Like when you see the heat off a road in the summertime and it starts to distort stuff around it. That's what the background of every scene in this game is like. The animation and just the direction in general is the worst Telltale's produced in years. The game leans pretty heavily on action too, and whatever Bronze Age engine they're using just really can't handle it. The game had a story too, I guess, but it wasn't anything to write home about. It had the familiar beats everyone's come to expect of Telltale by this point, and the ending felt really contrived. I'm not too interested in seeing the next 5 episodes pan out, and after 2 playthroughs, I don't care about the protagonists or even remember their names. It's a shame too, because Game of Thrones world seemed like perfect grist for the Telltale mill. Telltale's Tales from the Borderlands. Another Telltale game. Toss it in the trash. What the fuck? It's actually good? This I didn't see coming. I thought the first Borderlands was just boring, and I hated the second one in the pre-sequel. The world of Borderlands was really never interesting or fleshed out, but Telltale seriously knocked this first episode out of the park. The difference in presentation quality is night and day from this and Game of Thrones. Maybe they figured people'd buy anything with the Game of Thrones name on it, and just allocated their budget accordingly. Either way, Tales from the Borderlands is written sharply and directed like an Edgar Wright movie. It worked the miracle of making me give a shit about something Borderlands. This is a series I need more of. No spoilers, but the option Break His Heart offers the best moment in a Telltale game this side of The Walking Dead's first season. Telltale's Game of Thrones feels like cheap fanfiction compared to the real deal, but the Telltale writing treatment elevated Borderlands to something it never was. Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground Zeroes. This is Kojima's masterclass in tactical espionage cock-teasing. You have no idea what hype is until you play Ground Zeroes. Every day until the Phantom Pain comes out feels like an eternity. The gameplay is an absolute dream, the most fluid in any Metal Gear to date, and it makes me want more of it. Though your first playthrough of this prologue game will probably top out at around 2 hours, I personally sunk more than 25 hours into the game between the PS4 and recently released PC version. Please, Kojima, I will retweet and favorite as many pictures of breakfast as you want. Just release the Phantom Pain soon. Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS. My god, how I missed couch co-op. My brother and I have been pulverizing one another for weeks now, and I'm having the time of my life. The jerkiness of Melee is gone, the floatiness of Brawl is gone too. Smash for 3DS and Wii U feels like the platonic ideal of a Smash game. It trims out fat like the Subspace Emissary mode, while at the same time offering more characters and overall substance than any game in the series. And the parity between the 3DS and Wii U version is nothing short of impressive. The controls have never felt better. The music is a catalog of excellence. All that coupled with a robust stage and character customization option, and you've got yourself a fucking video game, Haas. And the amiibo system deserves more attention than it gets. It has all the ingredients of being a stupid gimmick: expensive figurines that enable features in-game, AI that learns from you. Sure, dude, whatever. But wouldn't you know, it works. The amiibos use near-field communication to transfer and store data onto a bit of storage in the base of the figurine. You touch the figure to a mark on the controller, and your amiibo can join the menu or drop into the battle in progress. As for fighting the amiibo, you'll kick its ass at first, yeah, but then it starts keeping up with you. Your old tricks don't work quite as well on it anymore, and its level climbs higher over time. It just keeps learning. If you've been taunting after knocking it out, it picks up on that too. So when it finally launches you off the stage, it taunts straight back and mocks you. Then it beats you for the first time. Then it starts to beat you consistently. Before you know it, you're lucky if you can hit it at all before it puts your shit away. It's like fighting Skynet. The machines have won. The age of man is over. All is lost. Fantastic game though. Well, we made it, people. Some other games came out this year, great ones I heard, but of course I didn't mention games I haven't played. Oh, be patient, old girl. Let's round off 2014 with a couple awards to ring the new year in. Well, not so much awards, but declarations of opinion. I don't actually have anything to give it. Worst thing, 2014. I paid $50 for Lords of the Fallen. I didn't expect it to be half as good as Dark Souls, or even Dark Souls 2. And I can say without exaggeration that I didn't enjoy a second of my time with it. I've never regretted purchasing a video game more, and there it sits in my Steam library forever, a permanent object of my cold, bitter hatred. Best thing, 2014. I didn't pick Ni no Kuni because it didn't come out in 2014, but in a year of bite-sized games and snooze fest, Smash Bros. 4 steamrolls the competition. It'd be enough that it's the most fun I've had playing multiplayer in years, but the Amiibo AI sits pretty as one of the most impressive technical achievements in the history of the industry. I tried to come up with things I didn't like about Smash 4. I gave it an honest crack, but the only thing I could come up with is that there's one board game side mode that isn't that great. After Dark Souls 2, it's just so nice for a game to not only meet my enormous expectations for it, but to blow them to smithereens. If you have a Wii U, you need to buy Smash 4. If you don't have a Wii U, you need to buy a Wii U and then buy Smash 4. So long and farewell to 2014. It had its stinkers, but it also had its standouts. If only it could have stuck around longer. Well, Witcher 3, Bloodborne, The Phantom Pain, and fucking finally. Happy New Year, everybody.